At 8:30 a.m. in the church dedicated to Saint Anthony of Sokolka, a woman is preparing to receive communion, and she is kneeling, as is customary in many Polish masses, toward the priest when she notices a host fall out of his hands. She points this out to him, and he is terrified because according to Catholic doctrine, this host is the body of Christ, and letting it fall to the ground is sometimes seen as a sign of disrespect toward the Lord. He now has two options. He could A. eat the host, which is probably dirty after being on the floor, or he could put it into a special sink of holy water in the back of the church and let it dissolve, as is Catholic protocol. He chooses the second option, but the sink is in the back of the church and he doesn't prefer to disturb communion at this time. So he decides to quickly put the host in the container of holy water that is used to wash the priest's hands before communion, and he goes back to administering the sacrament. After the Mass, a nun by the name of Julia Duboska takes the host back and pours it into a sink and locks it away in the back of the church, in the same room where the chalices are held. She left it there, locked, for a week to dissolve. Up until this point, there has been nothing out of the ordinary. This isn't an everyday occurrence, but from time to time a host will fall and there is protocol to not disrespect the body of the Lord. But the coming events would be anything but ordinary. About a week later, the same nun comes back to the room and sees a red dot out of the corner of her eye. She looks toward the sink and sees that the host wasn't dissolved. And not only that, the host was bleeding. She rushed to the pastors who were there, and upon them seeing it, they immediately called for the bishop of the area, who put the host onto a white corporal, a small linen cloth, and enclosed it into a capsule for displaying, in which the host spent a full year on before scientists got the chance to examine it. They found that the original host was still there, but about half of it was not bread anymore. It was living, bleeding heart tissue that was internally fused to the rest of the host. The tissue was a perfect match to cardiac muscular tissue. Additionally, it had spent a full year in the corporal. Besides drying, it had remained completely the same and wasn't decomposed in the slightest. The tissue did not show signs of ever being dead, but did show signs of fast spasms that occurred near death. One of the scientists, Sokolka, was never informed that the sample came from the host, and yet, after examination, he still affirmed that the sample was a living heart muscle tissue that was near death. Another scientist said that at first she thought it was a blood clot, but after further examination, she realized it was living heart tissue. Not a single person who examined the sample said it was a fake, or a bacteria, or anything other than heart tissue. Skeptics have suggested many other alternate tellings of the events. The main suggestion made by these skeptics for pretty much almost every Eucharistic miracle is that the bread was overrun by the bacteria Serratia marquescens. This bacteria has a notable red color and commonly plants itself on any type of bread, commonly sourdough or even communion host. This red blood can give the effect that the bread is bleeding in a sense, but this was actually considered by the scientists who observed the miracle. And they said that the bacteria, which only lasts a month or at most on bread, would have been completely decayed after the year it was in the corporal. Furthermore, nobody who had actually observed the miracle, in person, scientifically or otherwise, would have come to this conclusion because they would see that it's not any kind of bacteria, it's fully heart tissue. Other theories about the possibility of swapping the host for heart tissue is even more ridiculous. First off, the tissue was found to be directly fused with the host, in a way that it was completely connected, and the bread had suddenly transformed into the tissue. One of the professors who worked on the study was even quoted as saying that no one, absolutely no one, would be able to replicate it. Furthermore, the host was locked in the chamber and no signs of disturbance or any other evidence pointing to somebody breaking in were ever shown. These are the only contradicting ideas that I could come up with, so if you have any other claims about what might have happened, please leave them in the comments below. Also, other Eucharistic miracles from all around the world have seemed to all have three categories: a near-death muscle tissue, and blood type AB positive. The miracle at Sokolka has all of these properties to a T. The fact that the tissue is near death also points to the fact that the tissue is from Jesus' body as he was dying on the cross. I hope that I've shown you, dear viewer, the complete story of the miracle at Sokolka, and how there is irrefutable evidence that the bread was physically, fully transformed into the body of Christ, as Jesus said in the Gospels. Take this and eat of it, for this is my body, which I have given up to you.